Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another range report. And the firearm we have on the workbench today is a type of rifle I really enjoy shooting, but unfortunately I don't get to review it very often. Yes, it's a lever action. And this is the Derya Arms RAN Ironwolf in 357 Magnum. Essentially, Derya Arms has modernized the lever action to be more like a modern sporting rifle. They looked at other guns like the Henry X series and all of the upgrades people do to them and said, can we just make a gun that's right out of the box exactly what they want? And I think they've done that. We have a skeletonized adjustable stock in the rear. We have an M-lock handguard, a threaded barrel, an M1913 rail to mount accessories and optics. I think this thing looks fantastic. It kind of reminds me of a modern Western cowboy gun. And if you're a revolver shooter and like more tactical revolvers, this might be a great companion firearm for your collection. Now, this gun uses a monoblock receiver, which is not a clone of any other particular lever action, but it does kind of remind me of a Winchester 94. So I'm really excited to get this gun to the range and see how it performs and compares to other lever action rifles I'm familiar with. But of course, before we go over all of the features and specs and take it to the range, there's a few people I have to thank. First and foremost is Derya Arms, who sent this to the channel for review. And I want to let you know that because I want to be completely transparent. So thank you, Derya Arms, for giving me this opportunity. I also want to thank all of my Patreon supporters because through their monthly donations and support, they help keep the lights on around here, and I could not create this content without them. And if you want to join my Patreon for as little as $1 a month, there's a link in the description below. If you sign up over there, you get to see all these videos early. And of course, I have to give the biggest shout out to my primary channel sponsor who provides the ammunition for these range reports and makes them financially feasible for me, my good friend Mark from Brownworks. And I know if you like modern classic firearms like this lever action rifle, you're a fan of pistols like the 1911, the Browning High Power, the CZ75, and the Beretta 92, just to name a few. And you probably have a few of these in your collection, and you might be in the market to upgrade these pistols with some custom grips. Well, the grip company you need to check out is Brownworks. Brownworks is a custom grip company making a wide variety of grips for a wide variety of firearms out of a wide variety of exotic woods and materials. Mark, the owner, is an artist and a craftsman. He can apply custom logos, custom engravings, custom textures, finish these grips in a wide variety of colors, create his own laminate woods, and even apply exotic materials like snake skin and alligator skin to make these grips unique and one of a kind. Anything you can imagine, he can create, and all grips are made to order and in consultation with you. So I'm going to put a link to his website in the comment section below, as well as a coupon code for 10% off your first order. I'm going to ask you to go over there and check out everything he has to offer. And when you place your first order of a set of custom Brownworks grips, please tell Mark the Texas Gun Vault sent you. All right, so we definitely have a lot to go over when it comes to this Derya Arms RAN Ironwolf. So let me adjust the camera and let's go over all of its features and specs. So let's take a closer look at this Derya Arms RAN Ironwolf. This is a modern tactical lever action rifle. Essentially, it blends a cowboy gun with a modern sporting rifle. This one is chambered in 357 Magnum, but you can also run 38 Special through it. They do also offer a version in 44 Magnum and in 45 Colt. Being a modern lever action rifle, we have an adjustable aluminum stock. This one is called the Ironwolf, and I guess that's where they get the name from. You have a lot of adjustments for a cheek riser. You can adjust the angle of it. You have an M-lock handguard out here, so you can mount a lot of accessories, optics, lights, lasers. You also have integrated M1913 rail here on the top and on the bottom of the handguard. You also have a threaded barrel out front, and being that this is in 357 Magnum, this is going to be in 1/2 by 28, so you can mount a typical 9mm suppressor to this. The receiver is a monoblock steel receiver, and it's not a clone of any specific lever action gun from the past, but I believe it draws inspiration from the Winchesters and the Marlins. We have a top ejecting action, a side loading gate, a tubular magazine, of course, because lever actions typically have those. We have a rebounding hammer safety system. So we have a cross bolt system right here. So even if you pull the trigger, the hammer drops, it's going to hit that safety and not hit the firing pin. And we also have a lever safety. And this is one of the things I've noticed some other reviewers have talked about, is unlike other lever action rifles, you have to make sure this lever is fully pushed against the receiver and the stock for the hammer to drop. If you don't, let's say we have the hammer pulled back here and I'm not pushing up on this, it actually blocks the trigger. I think some people are going to like this, some people are not, but it's going to be a little bit different than other models that you might be familiar with. The barrel length is 18 inches. It has an overall length of 36.8 inches. It has a width of 1.4 inches. It is 5.31 inches high, and it's finished in a very nice black melanite. I do like the way this looks. I do hope that they offer other colors in the future. So the next thing I want to test out is the trigger. So I'm going to get out the Lyman trigger pull weight gauge. We're going to measure it and see what this trigger is all about. And like always, before I dry fire any firearm I have on the workbench for review, we do need to safety check it. So let's start by opening the action, ensuring there is no ammunition in the chamber and nothing on the lifter or the elevator. And I'll run that action a few times to show the magazine is completely empty. When it comes to the initial take-up, there virtually is none. You are right at that wall. When it comes to the break, it is very crisp and very light, lighter than I thought it would be. But you do have quite a bit of travel after that break, but in a lever action gun, that's not really a big deal. Yeah, that trigger feels absolutely fantastic. So let's clear any averages in this gauge. And now let's test it out and actually see how light it is. And I have to make sure to always be pushing up on this lever to deactivate that safety. For our first pull, we have 3 pounds, 1.1 ounces. I told you, it's very light. Three pounds, 0.3 ounces. 3 pounds, 3.4 ounces. Three pounds, 2.9 ounces. And finally, we have 3 pounds, 2.9 ounces, which gives us an average of 3 pounds, 2.1 ounces. Yeah, what a great trigger in a rifle like this right out of the box. That is exactly what I would expect for a gun like this. All right, so that's this gun's features and specs and everything about the trigger. So now let me readjust the camera and we'll go over all the things about it that I like and don't like before taking it to the range. And as always, as I examine any firearm I have into the channel for review, I'm going to discover things about it that I like and don't like. And I always want to share those with you. And I always want to start with the positive first. And the first thing I love about this rifle is its design philosophy. It takes an old school gun and makes it modern. While lever actions are not the most popular types of rifles anymore, I really think that they're underappreciated. A gun like this, I think, is going to have broad appeal to a lot of people because it kind of looks like an AR, a modern sporting rifle, but it functions completely different. It's not just your grandpa's wood stock gun. It has something with an M-LOK handguard, which is the next thing I love about this gun. You have so many options for mounting accessories, lights, lasers. I absolutely love it. The rail on the bottom here can be used for a bipod, and of course you have the rail on top for optics. And the last thing I really like about this is the skeletonized stock. I think it looks really, really cool, but you have an adjustable cheek riser and you can adjust the angle of the stock to fit your body, which I really appreciate because sometimes when it comes to fixed wood stocks, they're not always 100% comfortable for me if it doesn't conform to my body's shape and size. Now, there is one thing about this gun I'm not really a big fan of, and I had to get used to just handling it here on the workbench, and that is it has a safety that is part of the lever. Essentially, when you cock the gun, and the lever is essentially in the closed position, if you try to pull the trigger, nothing is going to happen. The lever kind of hangs down a little bit because there's an extra piece right here which is spring loaded. And in order for you to disengage that safety, you have to pull this lever all the way up. And I know that when it comes to shooting lever actions, often people are used to just having that lever closed and being able to pull the trigger. But here, you're gonna have to have a little bit of a squeeze to the stock. And that actually takes a little bit of getting used to. I don't know if it's necessarily needed, but it is an interesting design. I think I can overlook it, especially if this gun shoots so well, but it might be something I wish they omitted. After all, you already have a crossbolt safety up here in a traditional location. All right, so that's everything about this gun that I like and don't like. So now it's time to take it to the range. And for the first test, we're gonna shoot this gun unsuppressed. And don't worry, because it has a threaded barrel, we are gonna put a suppressor on it, but I wanna shoot it unsuppressed first, and we're gonna run 38 Special and 357 Magnum through it, because one of the big advantages of a 357 Magnum lever gun is you can run cheaper 38 Special through it. So let's go to the range, let's put our first rounds through it, and see what we discover. And that was definitely a lot of fun. And as I tell many people, when it comes to running a lever action firearm, it's like driving a manual transmission car. It might not be as convenient, but you feel more in tune with the machine. So let's talk about what we discovered. When it came to 38 Special, this gun is exceptionally accurate. But when it came to its feeding, it wasn't as reliable. Some of those rounds got hung up as I was trying to close the bolt. And I think that has to do with the overall length of 38 Special as compared to 357 Magnum. I noticed that as the rounds were extracted from the tubular magazine, it didn't always lay on the elevator at the right angle. And then when it came up to be loaded into the chamber, it would sometimes be at the wrong angle and get stuck a little bit. But I was able to eventually close the bolt and get the gun to run. Then when it came to its extraction and its ejection, it was fine. Normally, I'm not the biggest fan of these top ejectors, but as long as the brass is ejected in a direction that's not in my face, I'm happy. But then when it came to 357 Magnum, we had a totally different experience. In the accuracy department, the group opened up a little bit more than I wanted it to. But we'll talk about that a little bit more in this review. When it came to its feeding, it was 100% reliable. But then when it came to its extraction and ejection, it was erratic. So I don't know if this is going to be a problem as the review continues. Now, speaking of continuing the review, the next test I want to run is exactly this same test, but now run the gun suppressed. So I'm going to attach the Resilient Suppressor's Freebird to this. I'm just curious how this gun is going to perform and sound, and we'll see if there's anything else about it that I discover that I like or don't like, and we'll come back here to the garage and talk about it. And before I talk about a couple of issues I experienced, I want to talk about how nice recoiling this firearm is. It has this really nice rubberized butt pad in the back, and once you get this stock adjusted to you, it's very comfortable in the shoulder. The other thing I was so impressed by is the sound of this rifle suppressed. I don't think it really matters what silencer you're using. It's always going to be cool to shoot any lever action gun suppressed. Now, let's talk about my experiences, and pretty much they're going to mirror what I found in the first test. 38 Special was relatively accurate, but I did have some more feeding issues and one extraction issue. You notice that once I opened the bolt, one of those rounds did not eject at all, and it remained in the action, so I had to clear it. Another time, I think we had a feeding issue. When I opened the bolt, I had not only the spent case get ejected, but the round that was on the elevator, the unspent round, get ejected as well. So I do think this does not feed 38 Special as well as it should. That might need a little bit of a redesign. But I'm still able to run the gun, and that's one of the great things about lever action, because you're running it manually. You're not always going to have a stoppage if you have a malfunction. Then when it came to 357 Magnum, the accuracy wasn't as good as 38 Special, and it looks like I had a couple of those rounds tumbling. Now, before I filmed this range report, I was actually reviewing this optic, and I was running very similar tests. And in the optic review, I was running a different grain weight of 357 Magnum. I was running a little bit of this Range Dynamics 142 grain. And when you see the review of this optic, you're going to see this gun was exceptionally accurate. But I only had a little bit of this left. So for the main portion of this review on the rifle, I had some arms core 158 grain full metal jacket, and some American Eagle 158 grain. So the projectiles are just a little bit heavier. And that's when I started to notice this issue. I'm starting to think that whether it's the barrel or the rifling, this gun does prefer a lighter weight 357 Magnum projectile to stabilize. When it came to the feeding of this, it was perfectly fine with 357 Magnum, but with the ejections, I had a couple hit my face and one land on my head. And as I mentioned before, I'm not really a big fan of that. All right, so the next test I want to do is see what the best accuracy I can get with this rifle is. So we're going to set up the target at 25 yards, shoot this from the bench and from a rest, and just see what the best group I can get with it is. And I was pretty disappointed with the results of this test. Now, 6 of those 9 rounds were right in the center of the target, right where I would want them. Not the best group, but overall acceptable. But I had 3 flyers, and one of those flyers appeared to be tumbling. You could see it from how it impacted the target. Now, in this test, I was running this Armscore 357 Magnum. Now, I've had some problems with the loadings from Armscore in other calibers, so I started to wonder, maybe this is just not good ammunition. So I wanted to try this test again, but this time we're going to bring the target back in. I'm going to shoot 38 Special and 357 Magnum through it, but when it comes to 357 Mag, we're going to be running this American Eagle, and it's a different brand, so hopefully the loading is a little bit different, and I'm going to get better results. So let's go back to the range and see if I can get 357 Magnum to group more accurately. And in general, I feel like the results of this test are mixed. While the ammo from American Eagle I feel was more consistent than the Armscore stuff, I still had a few flyers. And one of those flyers I could tell from impacting the target was tumbling. So going back to what I said in an earlier segment where I was reviewing this optic with lighter projectiles, 142 grain to be specific, I was getting great groups with that. I really feel like this barrel or bore or the rifling twist really prefers the lighter stuff over the heavier projectiles. So I think that's something to take into consideration. Now, is that going to be consistent across all variants of this model? I don't really know. I only have an example of one. But I can tell you when those projectiles are stabilizing, I am getting good accuracy. I'm just not getting consistent accuracy. Now, speaking of different types of ammunition, the next test I want to run is a defensive ammo test. And most of the time, this is a test that I run on semi-autos. But since I'm having some feeding issues with this gun, I want to see if I run hollow points through this, if I'll have any of those issues that I would experience on other platforms. So let's go back to the range, let's run some defensive ammo through this and see what we discover. And as expected, we really didn't have any issues, and the few issues I had with 38 Special mirrored the problems I had with full metal jacket ammunition, so I don't think those problems had anything to do with the shape of the projectile. Now, when it comes to the impact on the target, you could definitively tell which were 38 Special and which were 357 Magnum, because those Magnum rounds were ripping the target a little bit. But I didn't have as many flyers, and they weren't as extreme. Now, this ammunition was loaded to a little bit higher pressure, so maybe velocity comes into play here. So I definitely feel like if you use this gun or own this gun, the accuracy is going to be just fine. You just have to make sure you find the right ammunition that it really likes. Because I can tell the accuracy is here, you just have to figure out the right numbers when it comes to what you're feeding through it. Now, there was one other thing about this gun at the range I began to notice that was a little bit bothersome, and that is the crossbolt safety. And the way that it's set up is when it's pushed to the right-hand side, it's on safe, and when it's pushed to the left-hand side, it's on fire. And often, between these tests, I would take this rifle and put it down on the shooting table like this, with the barrel pointed towards the target. And when I did this, this safety would unintentionally actuate. So then when I would load the gun again, charge the weapon, I would try to pull the trigger and it would not go bang because this crossbolt safety was preventing the hammer from firing the gun. So I actually was annoyed by that. I like the crossbolt safety. It's very intuitive. I like its placement, but I kind of feel like this needs to be worked on a little bit, where maybe it takes a little bit more pressure to push that bolt through to put the gun on safe, because I don't want to simply just put the gun down and rest it very soft like this and have the gun unintentionally be put on safe. I don't want to have to check that every single time. But who knows, maybe that's the way the gun is designed to be. But for me, it became a little bit of an annoyance. All right, so the last test I want to run is the shoot fast and multiple target test. Now, obviously, I'm not going to shoot this as fast as I can a semi-auto rifle, but I'm curious how fast I could run this action. And I'm going to set out 2 targets at various distances, and I just want to see if I had to use this gun in self-defense, would I be able to transition between targets and, of course, shoot the gun relatively quickly for this to be an effective self-defense tool. And pretty much my experiences with this rifle and this test mirror everything else I've said earlier in this review. I had feeding issues with 38 Special and accuracy issues with 357 Magnum. You just got to figure out what this gun likes, but I can tell the accuracy is there. You can tell so many of those rounds were in the center of the silhouette, and then we just have a few of those flyers. Now there's one other thing about this gun I discovered that I'm going to be really nitpicky on that I don't like, and that's going to be the size of this lever loop. Honestly, I think it's a little bit too big. I kind of prefer the size of the Henry X series. And the reason is because when I'm running this action so fast, my hand is hitting the metal of the lever so fast and so hard that after a while and at a long range trip, you begin to feel it. In fact, the top of my middle finger is still a little bit sore. So in order to remedy this, I'm going to put a little bit of paracord around it. But if the lanyard loop was a little bit smaller, I don't think I would have this issue. Now, I don't want anything as small as a traditional lever. I do like the tactical look and the use of the larger ones. This one just might be a little bit too large for me. So what are my final thoughts with the Derya Arms RAN Ironwolf lever action rifle in 357 Magnum? Well, this is a good rifle that is fun to shoot, looks great, and has a great design philosophy. It has a few pros. It makes lever actions relevant in the 21st century. It has a good trigger. It has great accuracy with 38 Special, and the gun is very ergonomic, especially with this awesome stock. But of course, we have a few cons with it. We had some feeding and ejection issues. It seems to prefer certain types of 357 Magnum over others. And we have the two safeties. One, I think some people are not going to like this lever safety. And then I had issues with the crossbolt safety. But I can deal with both of those, especially since I know how they function now. So on my star system, how would I rate the Derya Arms RAN Ironwolf lever action and 357 Magnum? Well, I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 stars. Yeah, not a perfect review, but a good review. I can tell this is a solid design, and it wants to run well and be accurate. But as I've discovered, you just got to find what it likes. Now, I know I've had a few criticisms of this rifle and a few very positive things that I've said. And I want to give a huge shout out to Derya Arms. As I mentioned, they did send this to the channel for review, but they are a great company because they stand behind their products and they allow me to make the videos that I want to make and be honest with you. I never want any of you guys to think that I'm a quote-unquote shill. They say all I have to do is shoot this gun and be honest with all of you. And as you can see, I had a lot of fun with this. I have a lot of positive things to say, but I also had a few minor criticisms. And I get to show you everything I discovered. And because they allow me to do that, I know they're a great company. They don't hide anything. So I want to thank Derya Arms for doing that for me and for you. This has been a great experience, and I love reviewing guns like this, and I hope they don't hate me too much and will allow me to do more in the future. So tell me in the comments section below, what do you think of modern lever action rifles? Are they relevant in the 21st century? And what do you think about the accuracy issues I was having with this gun in 357 Magnum? So, as always, thanks for watching.